Hello, Southwest District. Welcome to the How to Pay Dues webinar. Thank you all for viewing this video or attending the webinar. So let's get started. So what are we going to be going over today? We're going to be going over what are dues, the Membership Update Center, important notices and common mistakes, and a summary and Q&A for those who have questions. So to introduce myself, hello, I'm Sienna Zarate, and I'm the Southwest District Secretary Treasurer. A little bit about me is I'm a senior at Franklin High School in El Paso, Texas. I've been in Key Club for 4 years, and some of the hobbies I like to do are running, sewing, and of course, Key Club and volunteering. So if you wanted to see me volunteering, there's some pictures over there. And yeah. So 1, dues. What are dues? So dues are charges paid per member to cover the program's administration expenses of Key Club. Now notice how we said these are charges paid per member because clubs can either choose to fundraise to pay dues, or you can have each member pay their dues as long as they are paid per member. So these are assessed on the district, international, and sometimes club level if your club elects to have dues. And then for any increases in dues on the district side, they would have to be changed by a vote at the House of Delegates, which would happen at DCON. We will not be having that this year, I don't believe so. But if there ever was a dues increase, you would see it there and you would probably be notified of a change probably beforehand. So if a student wishes to be an official member of Key Club, their name must be on the school's roster through the MUC, which we will be going over later in this presentation, and dues must be submitted on their behalf. And so this dues amount for this year is $15. So $15, you might think, that was a little bit more than last year, where it was $12. So this past year at the International Convention House of Delegates, 2 amendments were passed regarding dues. One of these changed the international component of dues from $7 to $10, and this extra $3 will go towards getting Key Club out of a spending deficit at the international level and making sure that Key Club keeps intact all the programs that make Key Club Key Club. Now to talk a little bit about the Second Amendment, it is an automatic inflation adjustment plan. So every 4 years, the dues will increase by an amount according to inflation. And so you won't ever experience a dues increase more than once in high school just because it is every 4 years.
Hey, and Sienna, I know you have some great slides and we are not seeing them right now. So if you wanted to share your screen, then everybody can see your slide.
Oh no!
All good, all good.
So sorry. Okay, these are the dues increase. Should I wait a little bit so they can read it?
Sure.
Okay, this is the dues increase slide. And then go ahead and pause this video if you're watching it through the video. And then this is the dues slide, which I stated this, but if you wanted to go ahead and reread it. Okay, so to continue on with the presentation. So how are the dues split up? As I said earlier, dues are $15. So you have a $5 district dues and then a $10 international component for dues. And both of these go towards the functionality of each of the respective district or international level. And so all of these dues, the 5 and the 10, is made up of a $15 fee through the invoice through the Membership Update Center based on the number of the rostered members. So you won't see a component of 5 times your members times 10 times your members. It'll just be 15 for all of your rostered members. And then what about club level dues? So as I said earlier, clubs can elect to have dues. And so the club, based on the international bylaws, the club dues cannot exceed $10. So your members should have a maximum club dues of Key Club of $25 coming from the 15 from International Plus District and the 10 for club. However, you can have separate fees for t-shirts, facility usage, and parties, and etc. So anything that may fall similar to those categories. And then these club dues are not sent to the international, so they will not be voiced through the Membership Update Center. So, what do dues cover? So, on the international level, they cover several program expenses, which are the Global Engagement Rally, Global Leadership Certification, membership cards, handbooks, and pins, guide and officer training material, travel for the international board, marketing and PR. And then they also cover a few administrative and operational costs, such as utilities, IT, and building expenses. And as you can see, we have this graphic over here which kind of states the things that go through the dues. As a disclaimer, yes, it does say $7. However, the international component dues is 10. This is an old graphic, but we thought it was valuable because of how it shows this pie chart of the distribution and what it goes to. So we have administration fees, program support, which includes membership, material and recognition, travel and governance, which is like the travel for the Key Club International Board, and then marketing and advertisement and communication of Key Club, and then education and training. So this breaks down those $7 into this. However, it is $10, so just keep in mind the percentages rather than these costs. So to continue on, so what do dues cover district-wide? So this $5 fee goes towards board trainings and training expenses for the district board, committee programming and expenses, LTG budgets for division travel, events, and expenses. So if you all have been contacted by your lovely LTGs, which I'm sure you have, they have had to go to a training this summer, and they will be going to a training this winter, and that's to train them how to be good LTGs and how to help their respective divisions. So hopefully you got some use out of those wonderful trainings, but those do have a cost. So some of that district dues goes towards paying that. And then we also have some software and storage expenses as a district. And so these are what make up your Key Club dues. And on the side, we have some pictures like, I believe this is Camp Fall Rally, and then we have our trainings. So those are what your dues are spent on. And then now we go on to our next category, which is the most difficult for most people, which is navigating the Membership Update Center, also known as the MUC or MUC. So if you hear me saying either of those, just know I'm referring to the Membership Update Center. So what is the Membership Update Center? It is the Key Club International online platform used to pay membership rosters and finances. So this is where you're going to share your general club information through your rosters, where you're going to finalize rosters, pay dues, and access the Global Leadership Certification. All of those things belong to the MEC. So how are we going to navigate it? Or I guess who has access to it? So the MEC deals with a lot of financial information and records membership. So because of this reason, only a few people will have access to it on the club level, and these will be your advisors, both faculty and Kiwanis, your presidents, your secretaries, and your treasurers. These are the only people who will be able to see it, so any of your other officer board won't be able to. And continue. So how do we access the MUC? So you can either go to https://members.kiwanis.org/ and this is the website for the MUC. Additionally, I believe if you search up Key Club Membership Update Center would also be the first link, but this is the easiest way to get to it. And then so now you're going to look at the sign up, which looks like this. You're going to enter the email address that you registered for Key Club with either as a member through your school or as an advisor. And then you're going to create a password or enter in your password. If you have not yet accessed the MUC, you would go to create an account. You would go to create an account and have a password. That way you can access it. And then you're going to go to select your group. So after you press submit on your sign up and you log in, then it'll say, oh, select your group. And this is where you would choose your Key Club. So what can you do with the MUC? So once you log in, you can create a roster, finalize your roster, do your finances, and then automatically generate an invoice. So as here, it shows a picture of creating the roster. I wonder if I can zoom in. I cannot, but there. So as you here, one of this middle thing says members. So you're gonna click on members, and that's where you're gonna have your roster here. Here you can add a new member, you can bulk add new members, or you can also delete members somewhere here. And so if you're adding in new members, you would press the added member. If you're entering multiple new members, you would press the name and a few others. You can go ahead and email me for more information if you need help. But once you finally log in into the membership update center and see your members, you'll be able to see all the information that you do need. So then once you complete all your members and save your roster, then it should automatically generate an invoice, essentially charging your club $15 per member for the total owed. So how are you going to pay this $15 per member? So there is a finance tab. As I was saying earlier, you have your dashboard, members, and now you have your finance. So go ahead and click on the finance tab. Here, it'll give you two options. You have pay online through a credit card, and then you have pay statement, pay by mail, which would be sending a check to the Kiwanis International headquarters in Indianapolis, Indiana. So those are your two options for paying your $15 per member. I believe it's supposed to say 3, but common mistakes and important takeaways. So here are some common mistakes when navigating the MUC. So there is failure to press roster complete. And if you don't press roster complete, you won't get that automatically generated invoice. So make sure to press this. And then 2, not entering email addresses for numbers or using school issued emails that will be blocked by firewalls. So as a way to make sure this doesn't happen in the future, make sure to use personal email addresses and not school addresses so that we can go ahead and avoid those firewalls. And so if you were one of those members who unfortunately entered in a school email or unable to access the MUC, go ahead and contact keyclub@swdkiwanis.org to change your email address. And that way you can go ahead and log in and access the MUC. And then another common mistake is forgetting to pay dues for late additional members. And in that way, that if you forget to pay dues, they won't have access to many of our Key Club resources, such as the Global Leadership Certification. So make sure to add in those late additional members. And then here are important takeaways of the MUC. As said before, only advisors and officers listed on the clubs of the MUC are allowed access. So let's say you have a bulletin editor, they won't have access. Again, it's your Kiwanis advisor, your faculty advisor, president, treasurer, and secretary. And then advisors, let's say you get a new advisor, make sure to contact me, Key Club, sectresh at swdkiwanis.org, so that we can go ahead and get your new advisors on file, because if they aren't on file, then they won't have access. And then another important exception to this is new charters since April of the previous year. So a charter fee covers the first year of dues for unchartered members, and that's a complete year. So let's say you charter in April, it'll cover that remaining year, and then the whole next year for members who were rostered at that time, you would have to pay, Ms. Church, correct me if I'm wrong, but you would have to pay those new membership fees for people who weren't part of the originally chartered club.
You are
And
correct.
then, okay. And then, as that says before, and then filling out the officer information in the MUC is separate from the officer certification form. So if you receive those emails from your lieutenant governor to fill out your officer certification, or seen those newsletters, or even received emails from me, just know that the MUC is a completely different officer information submission. So make sure to do both. And then this is our absolute dues deadline. It's December 1st, 2024. Anything after this will be late dues. So make sure you get them in ASAP. And if your school does take a while to process dues, make sure to submit that information early so that you are able to make our due date. We do have an early bird due date coming up, which is November 1st, and your club would get early bird recognition if you submit by November 1st. But please, please, please make sure to submit by December 1st. And then here's a summary and Q&A. So let me just say the big takeaway. Make sure to have your dues in for all registered members by December 1st. And then if we send you an email saying you have not paid it, but you did, chances are the payment is still registering. So let us know. Again, a lot of these schools have these processes which take a long time. So if we have not received it, we have not received it. And so please take our email into consideration. And then lastly, we know this is a long and stressful process and it's designed to be handled collaboratively. So if you need any help, Kiwanis, officers, and the district board will be there to help. Again, my email is keyclubsectraj@swdkiwanis.org. So make sure to contact me if you have any trouble. Then, are there any questions?
I have a quick question. So if I'm a lieutenant governor and I want to get dues for my club and help them out with that, but they are wanting if they add people, there is it the same process to add people now as late like that is then later? Like, do you understand what I mean? Like if
Um,
they add people now and press complete roster, is that like permanent or will they be able to add more people after?
I'm going back to the ad. Um, Miss Church, they can add people after their original submission, correct?
Yeah, Isaac, that was an excellent question. Um, Advisors or secretaries, depending on whoever is completing the roster, members can be added at any point during the year. And it's a little bit hard to see, but Sienna, hover over the add a member button. All they have to do is go in, click the add a member, and add them to their roster. So adding members is no problem. As soon as a new member is added, an invoice for their dues is automatically generated and available in the finance section. Um, what you can't do is you can't take people off. So it's important that clubs make sure when they are finalizing their roster that these are really members who have paid dues or who have had dues paid for them. Because once that roster is submitted, and let's say there's 11 members on the roster, you're going to be invoiced for the dues for 11 members. And if one person ends up not joining, you don't get the $15 back for them. So you really want to make sure when you press that roster finalize that those are good members, they're going to stay, and that they have paid dues if the members themselves are paying dues. But adding people, that can be done anytime. Now, I will point out, this is a good opportunity to say that Key Club International does not send materials out immediately for late edition members. What they found last year was there were clubs who were adding members every month. And so they ended up sending materials out every month for the new members, and that got quite expensive. So there is a set schedule of when the mailings go out. I can't remember what it is, but it's a couple times throughout the year. But those members can still be added. The dues invoice will be generated in the finance section, and they just submit the dues for the additional members just like they did for the initial batch. Excellent question.
Thank you, Isaac. Are there any other questions?
Sienna, why don't you go back to that last slide that has your email address so everybody can get that?
So here's my email address, keyclubsectraj@stbdkiwanis.org. Feel free to contact me if you have any questions. Leo.
Hi, Sienna. I do have a question. So when a club is paying dues, do they just send those $15 per member to International and then International distributes them to the district?
Yes, I believe they send us a check, right?
Yeah, so actually they do an electronic funds transfer 5 times a year. So at various points throughout the year, and it's usually kind of when the bulk of the dues are getting paid, we'll get transfers from international.
Okay, thank you.
Good question. Yeah, they want to make it easy for the clubs by having everything go to international instead of having to pay dues to two different places.
And keep in mind that every single district may have different dues, respectively. So our dues component is $5. So if you see anything different online, ours is $5. Keep that in mind.
And ours is actually the lowest now. Actually, there may be one other district that's lower than us, but we are certainly in the amongst the lowest dues for districts in Key Club International.
So, woo! Go Southwest District.
Go fundraising.
Go fundraising. Isaac.
So I heard earlier Miss Church saying that some clubs added members like once per month. So let's say they add someone after December 1st and they haven't had dues sent to international. Are they considered like a finalized member? And do they have access to our programs like the GLC?
Excellent question again, Isaac. As soon as a member is added to the roster and the dues are submitted for them, they become a member in good standing, even if that happens to be in January or February. So they're able to access the GLC as soon as they're entered into the system and the dues are paid.
And while we're talking about the GLC, just a quick promo, the Global Leadership Certification, or GLC, is a wonderful leadership course available to all rostered Key Club members, so make sure to check it out. It's also through the Membership Update Center. Okay, seeing as there's no further questions, thank you all for attending the How to Pay Dues webinar. I hope you all thought this was very informational. And if you have any additional questions as you're watching this, either as a video or through the webinar, and just don't want to speak up, then you can go ahead and email me at keyclubsectrej@sdbdkiwanis.org, available on the screen. Thank you all.